How do some teams just seem to, well, navigate really complex stuff, like consistently delivering great products and services with Agile, or really getting a handle on AI?
Yeah, it can look almost effortless from the outside, can it?
Totally. So today we're digging into this interesting idea from Aikido called Shuhari. It's a framework for how you get to mastery.
Right. 3 stages. Shu is where you learn the rules, you follow them to the letter.
Okay, Shu, got it.
Then,
Yeah.
then, Tua. That's where you start to bend those rules, adapt them a bit, understand why they exist.
Breaking out slightly.
And finally, Re. That's where you transcend the rules. You innovate because the principles are just part of you now.
Like, you're free.
Mm.
So the question is, how does this martial arts idea apply to, say, business or tech?
Well, that's what's so fascinating. This framework, even though it comes from a physical discipline, it actually gives us a really clear lens for looking at progress in complex areas. Think agile product and service management, or even, AI transformations.
Ah, so it's not just about grabbing the newest tool off the shelf.
Exactly. It suggests it's more of a developmental journey. You have to grow into it.
That makes sense. It's like, think of a musician learning different instruments, maybe.
Yeah, good analogy.
Someone might be amazing at, say, understanding what customers need for a new product feature, really intuitive.
Right.
But maybe they're still, getting the hang of using data analytics to improve an existing service. There are different stages for different skills.
Precisely. And with Agile, you see this all the time. One team might be brilliant at planning together, really collaborative, but maybe they're still working on creating that truly safe space where people feel okay speaking up. Shiori helps us see that this uneven progress isn't weird. It's normal. Actually, it's probably healthy.
Okay, so let's break down Shuai a bit more. That learn and obey stage. In agile product or service management, what does that look like?
It's really about focusing hard on the fundamentals, understanding the core principles, practicing the basic techniques. It's like learning to ride a bike.
Oh.
You're going to wobble. You might even fall off a few times.
Yeah, I remember that feeling.
But falling is how you learn. Those moments are vital for building that sort of muscle memory, understanding balance. And you need a safe place to do that wobbling.
Right, creating that safe learning zone is key then. So in Shu, teams might do things like structured retrospectives.
Exactly. At first, it might just feel like another meeting on the calendar.
Yeah.
But what it's actually doing is embedding that core idea of always learning, always adapting your product or service based on feedback.
And sometimes you only really get why a principle matters when you, mess up.
Painfully true sometimes. Like, you might experience total chaos on a service update because communication was poor.
No.
And then the principle of clear, constant communication suddenly makes a whole lot more sense. It's those controlled failures followed by really honest reflection that build a deep, practical understanding, not just theoretical knowledge.
Practical, yeah, that's the word. Okay, so after Shu comes Ha, breaking and adapting.
This is where things get interesting. Teams start experimenting. They're not just following the recipe anymore.
They're adding their own spice.
Sort of. They're starting to grasp the why behind the practices and think, okay, how could this work better for our specific product, our service, our team?
And this is probably where you see that mix of maturity you mentioned earlier.
Definitely. You might have one product team getting really creative with how they plan, maybe linking it tighter to real-time customer feedback.
Okay.
But maybe that same team still needs a bit of guidance on, say, building trust and psychological safety. They're Ha in one area, maybe still Shu in another.
Right. And another team, maybe a service team, could totally get the need for flexibility.
Deeply understand adaptability, yeah.
But they still prefer a really structured way to manage their work backlog.
Exactly. So Ha is really where that unique team creativity starts bubbling up. They're tailoring things to fit their own culture, their own challenges.
Okay, which leads us to Re, separate and innovate, fluid mastery. Sounds impressive.
It is, but it's not about throwing everything out the window. It's reaching a point where innovation feels, almost intuitive. Teams can create new ways of working without constantly checking a rule book.
But you said it's not permanent.
Crucially, no. Being in Re for one aspect of product management doesn't mean you're Re everywhere. Mastery is a cycle.
Ah, okay.
When teams hit totally new challenges or they venture into something completely unknown for their service, guess what?
Back to Shu or Ha.
Often, yes. They need to build a new foundation for that specific challenge. It's not a step backward, it's just applying the learning process again.
Can you give an example?
Sure. Think of a product team that's so in sync with their development cycle. They barely need formal estimation for their usual iterative work. They just know their flow, they're there.
Right.
But then maybe they take on a very different kind of task, something more operational, predictable. Suddenly, detailed estimation might actually be super useful for that specific work.
So they'd consciously choose to use that shoe-level technique again for that context.
Exactly. They're applying the right approach for the job, understanding that mastery isn't a static destination. It's this continuous loop of learning, applying, and honestly staying humble.
Especially with things changing so fast, like in Agile and AI.
Yeah.
You have to stay flexible, stay curious.
Absolutely. Which brings us nicely to AI, because let's face it, AI can feel huge,
Yeah.
complex, expensive, overwhelming.
Yeah, understatement. Where do you even begin?
Well, thinking about it with Shuha Ri can actually make it feel much less daunting. It gives you a path.
Okay, I'm listening. How does Shu apply to AI in my product or service?
Shu for AI means starting small. Accessible tools, low risk, things you can integrate into what you already do. Like maybe using a chatbot for basic customer service queries or some simple process automation for internal tasks.
Things that don't require building a giant custom AI model from scratch on day one.
Precisely. The goal is just to build some basic understanding, get the team comfortable, build confidence. You're learning the alphabet of AI, essentially.
Okay, makes sense. Then Hihari for AI.
In Ha, you start experimenting a bit more, maybe trying out simpler machine learning models for specific needs, like personalizing recommendations in your product.
Or maybe figuring out customer segments better for your service delivery.
Yes, exactly. And here's a key thing. The efficiencies you gained back in Shu by automating those routine tasks.
Yeah.
That often frees up your people's time they can now use to learn these slightly more complex AI skills to tackle these level challenges.
So one stage enables the next.
It just builds. And then you get to in AI.
The final frontier.
Potentially. This could be where you're innovating with really advanced stuff, maybe building your own custom large language models for completely new product features, or totally rethinking service interactions using AI.
But only if the foundation is solid.
Absolutely critical.
Right.
Trying to leapfrog straight to in AI. It's like taking someone who just got their driver's license and putting them in a Formula One car on race day.
Uh-huh. Yeah, probably not ending well.
Not likely. The risk of crashing and braining, wasting time, money, and morale is just too high. You need that gradual progression. Shu builds the base, Ha lets you experiment safely, then becomes possible.
It's about safe, effective progress. Each stage builds on the last.
Exactly. And leadership is so important in this, guiding teams through these stages.
What do teams need from leaders at each stage?
Well, in Shu, they need clear boundaries, clear instructions, and that crucial psychological safety, the permission to try things and, yes, sometimes fail without getting hammered for it.
Okay, safety nets.
In Hey, the need shifts. They need more freedom. Freedom to experiment, to adapt those rules, to try their own ideas within broader guidelines.
Trust, basically.
A growing amount of trust, yes. And in they need real autonomy. Leaders need to trust their judgment, give them space to innovate, and get out of their way a bit.
And where does it go wrong? You mentioned transformations faltering.
Often it's when organizations try to skip steps, particularly skipping Shu and Ha.
Jumping straight to expecting re-level results.
Yeah, or giving teams level freedom way too early while still expecting perfect, predictable delivery like they're in Shu.
That sounds like a recipe for frustration.
It really is. It undermines the whole point of the transformation. People get confused, demoralized. You end up with ineffective practices because the foundation wasn't built.
So the key takeaway is there's no single right speed.
Not at all. Different parts of your Agile journey, your AI adoption, they'll move at different paces. And that's okay.
The important thing is knowing where you actually are.
Yes. Recognizing the stage Shu, Ha, or Ri for each aspect, and then providing the right kind of support for that stage. It's about embracing the journey, learning deeply, celebrating the progress you do make.
Which really brings it back to the listener, doesn't it?
Absolutely. So for you listening, where do you see yourself? Where are your teams on these journeys with Agile product and service management or with AI?
Yeah. Are you maybe focused on leveraging those readily available tools right now, building that Shu foundation, or perhaps feeling some pressure, internally or externally, to jump into really advanced stuff before you feel ready?
Which parts feel sort of natural, intuitive now? And which bits still need that really conscious, deliberate effort? Where are you, Shuha or Ri?
Thinking about that can be really insightful. And if you want to explore these ideas much further, get more perspectives on Shuhari in practice.
Definitely check out the source video.
Yeah, just click on the links we put in the description. It's well worth it for a deeper dive.